Hey guys, this is Kerbal with Tape, and today you join me for episode 2 of Real Solar System, and today we start launching a probe to orbit the Sun, because I need to kind of figure out how much delta V it will take to change my inclination and do things around solar orbit. Basically, in this last episode I put some satellites around Kerbal so I could figure out delta V needed to leave the solar system and kind of inclinations to other planets, and this will be moving along further with that because I need to be, planning things and going to other planets. You can see there's still some cloud glitching, but it had been pointed out to me how to fix that by someone in the comments. Thank you, the actual multiple people who told me to do that. That's really helpful. So I have fixed that, and you'll see that actually in this episode. I believe there's a fix for the what is it, the city lights. I'll look at that, and something that I've also updated, but not in this bit because this was recorded at a different time from the other bit I've recorded for this episode. I actually hadn't been using the Real Fuels mod. I've just been basically using. It's kind of not really complicated, but to use the Real Fuels, you need to install like engine groups, so you can actually use the different fuels as opposed to just lighter fuels. So that's also in this episode. You'll see it a bit later, which gave me even more delta V, so it's better and more interesting. And I fixed the igniter thing because that was just part of updating the mod. But anyway, along with what's happening right now, this is a launch vehicle you probably saw last time, with its bigger upper stage, bigger lower stage, and it's 3.75 meter parts, and it uses 3 engine cluster to give me lots of efficiency. And the probe will be leaving the Kerbal system using that solid rocket booster. It is a vacuum solid rocket booster. Stretchy tanks. Well, I got stretchy tanks also encompasses solid rocket boosters, and there's atmospheric ones and ones that you can use out of the atmosphere. Which, well, you can use any of them out of the atmosphere, but this one's more efficient, and I quite like it because I've given it the exact amount of delta V it needs. So so I can just perform one burn, and I just quite like the idea of using solid rocket boosters in space. Anyway, we've ditched that now, so we'll extend our solar panels. Forgot to actually fill those tanks with RCS, which is a bit of a shame, because with the Real Fuels you do need to actually go in and fill your tanks, not just leave it, and I kind of forgot to do that, which is lucky, because if I'd actually filled that after I designed this, I would have needed to put more delta V in it. But anyway, well, you will have just been able to see everything's gone bright and awful, because I still haven't managed to get the brightening mod working with rescaled Kerbal. I'm not sure what that's about, but I'll hopefully figure it out. So I've just brightened this a little bit, because it's in the dark, so all the UI, you can't see anything going on, but you can kind of make out the spacecraft, I guess. I'm doing my best. But hopefully I'll get the mod, because it's much nicer than actually brightening it in post-production, because it all looks horrible. But at least you can see it, I guess. Yeah, so we'll ignite the engine and basically just maintain attitude. This is back into 1x time accelerated, by the way, but I've been kind of thinking about manned missions, and I do want to actually use TAC life support, so I will be using that, because I want this to be fairly realistic. I mean, I haven't installed everything I could do to make it more realistic, but I'm trying to make it just basically fun, I guess. But now we're really burning through that solid fuel. We're more than halfway through it now, and I think we've escaped the system, possibly. Oh no, that would make no sense. We've not even close to escaping the system. You need to make about a 3,000 meter per second burn to escape Kerbal. Well, to escape Earth, as opposed to like 900 meters a second to escape Kerbal. So it's a lot more fuel, but yeah. So going to other planets will be quite fuel consuming, but I'll hopefully figure it out. But yeah, we've escaped the system quite nicely, and now we can just warp out into the orbit of the Sun, and hopefully this brightening will go away soonish. Well, it will at some point. Yeah, so this is now controlless, because it has no RCS, because I forgot to put the monopropellant in the tanks, because I'm the best at space engineering. Yeah, And now the brightness should go away. Okay, maybe now, or now, or now. Okay, it'll go away. And there it is. Now it's back to normal looking KSP. But yeah, this will be useful. I want to see how much delta V it takes to change inclinations, mainly for Duna, because that's where I'm planning to go mainly. I'm not sure how far I'm gonna, go along with this, like making bases or whatever, because obviously it's very fuel consuming, and this isn't as easy to make reusable rockets as it turns out. You will see my some cool things I'm doing in a bit with pods, which relates quite strongly to Dragon version 2 being released. Well, it's been released today, but it will be released yesterday probably when I upload this. And I'll talk about that more when I get the spacecraft the spacecraft on screen. But anyway, I'm just going to make a quick little maneuver to see how much delta V it would take to change my inclination relative to Duna, and about 2,000 meters a second. So I'm obviously not going to actually do that. When I actually leave the system, I'll plan it much better so I leave pretty much on inclination with Duna, or wherever I'm going. And a little further out, it's not that much further out, but it's kind of like, it works at about 300 meters a second less delta V that far out, so it could be interesting. But anyway, this is my little attempt at a pod that would propulsively land, not just parachute land. It does have parachutes just in case. But yeah, this is just a prototype. I am going to make it look better, and you'll see that in a little second. In a little second? Yeah, it's just like a nanosecond. But yeah, so it flies nicely, I guess. We just retract those legs. It has the thrust to weight ratio right now is about 1.5. So yeah, it's pretty good. You'd want a little bit more for landing. I might use more engines in the future. But yeah, that went pretty well. So now I'm just going to deploy chutes because I just want to see how far up I can get it. About 1 kilometer. That's not terrible. And I am using the real chutes mod because, well, it provides you with a lot more chutes. They look better, and they don't just open straight away. They do this. They kind of progressively open, so it doesn't tear apart your spacecraft. Jebediah looks very happy about that. And they do some other cool things. But yeah, this is gone pretty well. I am going to be doing lots more tests in a second when this has landed, but I had some weird glitches when I time accelerate with these chutes. It would just like warp into the ground. Yeah, I have been doing some things with warp drive just by myself. I've been using Interstellar on a career mode thing, just kind of interesting. But yeah, I've basically started playing a bit more by myself again because for a while I had like a ridiculous amount of videos in backlog for Solar Civilization because I was playing it so much. So yeah, now I'm just playing even more KSP. But yeah. Anyway, it's coming down quite nicely. Those chutes do look quite good. They look more like the Apollo chutes if I had 3 of them. And they don't all like mangle into each other. But that's quite a nice little addition they've put into the mod. But anyway, that's down and looking fine, just next to the launch pad. But anyway, I'm going to try some propulsive landing using the Translatron. The thing I do have to bear in mind is if I shut off these engines, they can't be reignited because they only have 1 fuse in them. So I've got to be very careful because MechJab does like to randomly shut off engines to slow down craft. So I'm kind of punching in numbers going down in like 1 meters a second, so it only lowers the throttle instead of stopping it. So now we're in a nice little hover. We'll put it to 0. Now we're hovering. This is quite a nice way to land, I think. I'm just basically using a little bit of fuel above the pod and a little bit under, providing me with about 300 meters a second delta V, but I'd quite like a bit more than that because I'm going to need to maneuver in space and things, and I want to be more safe while landing. But it runs out of fuel and the bottom fuel tank explodes, which is annoying, and the hypergolic fluid falls off, which wouldn't help anyway. But this is my updated one. I've used conic tanks that can be stretched to make it look something symmetrical. Doesn't look anywhere near as nice as Dragon version 2, which does look really awesome. If you haven't seen it, go check out SpaceX's channel. It looks like a proper spaceship, and it propulsively lands, and it's just really cool. And it's for taking men to space, and it's pretty freaking awesome. But this is my updated one. It has a lot more fuel. It has actually, it has different parachutes. It has fuses, so I can redo the engines, but that still means I only get one. I can only fire them once on landing, and I screw that up a bit and pull the chutes, and they fling off. But we land quite nicely eventually because we bounce, and then I put it down all right. I'm not sure if I do another test flight of this. Oh yeah, maybe. Oh yeah, now I'm gonna use that little igniter toolbox to redo the to refurbish these engines. I'm using Kerbal attachment system because you need it for this, and I really like Kerbal attachment system. It's one of my favorite mods. But yeah, this is just a precaution I'll have to take. I'll only get one shot at engines while landing, so I am going to have to be careful. But I can. That means I can use the engines in space, then reload the igniters, and then use them for landing. And if that screws up, I do have parachutes, kind of like Dragon version 2. This is, yeah, kind of based on Dragon version 2. I saw that today and I was like, I know what I'm doing, so I made this, and I quite like how it looks. I mean, it's not perfect, but you know, it's better than the prototype actually. But yeah, Dragon version 1 was kind of based on normal looking pods because SpaceX didn't really know how to build them, so they just based it on other things. But the Dragon version 2 looks really cool and has some pretty cool technology on it, and you know, we'll be hopefully taking men and women to the space station, and then bringing them safely back to land. But this can now fly again, which is nice because I will need to be firing those engines more than once. Quite a few engines with the igniter pack. By the way, I am using the igniter mod, which means you can only ignite your engine so many times. But quite a few engines have multiple igniters. Various service engines can have up to like 24 ignitions, but a lot of them only have one. And the only real way around it that I could find was using this toolbox, which is fine. I just need to be a little careful. But that's, you know, obviously it's space travel. You have to be a little careful. But yeah, that lands quite nicely. I just thought I'd fly it around a bit. But it touches down pretty well. Yeah, there you go. I did break a landing leg. No, I broke a landing leg though, so that wasn't strictly true. And I'm using, I've completely forgotten the name of the fuels, but MMH and N2O4. So that's nitrogen and oxygen, and is that like methane fuel? I'm not sure. But anyway, this is taking that pod, slightly upgraded, much better, you'll see it in a second, to space. This is my Triton 3 launch vehicle. The one that launched the Solar Probe is a smaller version of this. And has a different upper stage because, well, first off, that was using liquid fuel oxidizer, which you can't use anymore because I've updated the mod. This uses the same propellant in the bottom stage. Oh no, this is actually a flight that went wrong. I'll talk about the rocket in a bit. But a little way through the flight, as you just saw, I skipped ahead. It tears apart because I deviate too far from my prograde marker, and we fly apart and break the spaceship. But don't worry, the emergency chutes pulled and we landed safely. Yeah, that's why you have chutes, because often everything breaks apart, which was, you know, a little annoying. But yeah, with New Farum Aerospace, very teary apart, and you flip out if you deviate too far from your prograde marker, because that's what would happen, because you've got different air resistances on different parts of your rocket. But anyway, this is the second launch, which is far more successful. I've sped it up. But yeah, the rocket, the first stage uses I've completely forgotten the name of the fuel. Maybe I'll put it on screen when I figure out what it's called. But the MMH and like nitrous and oxygen or something in the first stage, and then kerosene and liquid oxygen in the second stage, because I think it was just the most efficient way to do it, because kerosene's fairly light. Although if I'd used liquid, I could have used liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen, but that would have been a much bigger tank. That's what they use on the space shuttle. That's why I had a huge tank for lifting the shuttle. Don't think I could build a shuttle in this, although maybe I'll give it a shot at some point. But anyway, we're almost burned out on this stage, just gaining velocity now. We're going for a 200-ish kilometer orbit. And there we go, the stage burns out, and now we'll ignite these 4 toroidal aerospikes. These can be ignited 4 times without any refurbishment, so that gives me a nice little margin for error. I did ignite them once and then ignite them again, just a test fire. See there, ignition electric, 2 out of 4 left, and it tells me the fuel flow is stable, because this is this tank we're using now is a service module tank. The stretchy tanks also, and the stretchy tanks combined with real fuels gives you various tanks. This is a pressurized service module tank because it's very stable and pressurized and good for using in vacuum. The other one was, I think, just a cryogenic tank. I'm not sure exactly about the tanks I use. I don't know, I just kind of build rockets that work, ish, that is. But anyway, now we're moving quite nicely into orbit and coming up to speed. I think I've called the spacecraft the Timov Mark II. That's the Tape Manned Orbital Vehicle it's a Mark I, and that only weighs about 6.5 tons, and this is a 10-ton lifter. So I have quite a bit of fuel left over in this stage, which will stay in orbit. I should probably put like a mech-jeb unit on or something and deorbit it, but you know, we'll come to that. Maybe I'll upgrade it for that. But yeah, we're coming up to orbital velocity, and we have a periaps above the surface now, and we are in a stable orbit. That'll do nicely. We'll ditch the fairing, ditch that, and get rid of the little mount it's on, and use the RCS to move it away. And this now has 6 engines, it has life support, it has RCS control. I actually did fill up the monopropellant tanks now, but yeah, that looks quite nice. Jeb just gets out to take a quick look at it, and then I was searching for the ambient light mod there, but I couldn't find it. So hopefully I'll find it in the next episode, and hopefully I'll land this safely in the next episode. But yeah, that will be in the next episode, so I hope you've enjoyed this. This has been KSP with Tape. I will see you next time.